Chapter 2. The Early Years. Preaching to the Chickens. John's parents, Eddie and Willie Mae, eventually bought a farm of their own. Now John's family had 110 acres of land. They planted cotton, corn, and peanuts. They also had their own animals. Farming was hard work for the whole family, and everyone had to do their part. John's job was to take care of the chickens. He had to feed them and make sure their eggs were kept warm and safe. John felt a special connection to the chickens. John wanted to be a pastor, so sometimes he preached to them. Some nodded their heads. Others looked at John with curiosity. The chickens couldn't talk, but John knew they were listening. Besides the chickens, John also loved school, but there was a lot of work on the farm. Sometimes John and his brothers and sisters needed to stay home to help. John begged to go to school. He told his family how far he would fall behind. His parents felt bad, but they had no choice. Everyone had to help out. One morning, John had an idea. He hid under the front porch and waited. When he saw the school bus coming down the road, he rushed from his hiding place and ran to the bus. He got on and went to school. John's parents weren't happy, but they didn't punish him. They knew how much he liked school. This was John's first protest. Separate is not equal. John didn't know many white people when he was growing up. He was used to segregation. When he went to school, he saw that white children rode on a newer bus and had a better school building. Even though he loved his school and his teachers, this didn't seem fair. John would ask his family why things were this way. They would say, "That's just the way it is." Then one day, John went on a trip to Buffalo, New York with his uncle Otis. They were going to visit family who lived in the north. As they drove through the southern states, they didn't stop much. They couldn't. Because of segregation, they were not allowed in some of the restaurants they passed. They could get harassed or hurt. So John and Otis ate in the car. Things were different in Buffalo. John noticed that his uncles there had white neighbors. White and black people sat together and were friends. John realized that segregation didn't have to be the way things were. All around, the world was changing. In 1954, a big decision was passed in the courts. It was called Brown versus Board of Education. In the decision, the court said that schools could no longer be segregated. John was excited. He thought this meant that he would be able to go to a better school. But change didn't come right away. In fact, a lot of things got worse. In 1955, a 14-year-old boy named Emmett Till was murdered in Mississippi. His crime? Talking to a white woman. No one was punished for his murder. Emmett's mother was so hurt and angry. She decided the world needed to see what was done to her son. A funeral photo of Emmett was published in a magazine. People couldn't believe what they saw. The country was outraged about his murder. John was too. He wondered how he could make a difference. John heard a speech by a pastor named Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and was inspired. He thought that if he became a preacher, he could reach people. Maybe he too could fight for change like Dr. King.